right, so we are live now, and I'm certain that all of the people at South, all the guys at South, they're so good at doing all of this kind of stuff. I'm certain that they have their books, and I'm certain also that they have their sign-in sheets going around and all of that stuff as we are here. I do want to let this group know that today, this afternoon, we should have books, and they should say North Point and all of that kind of stuff on them. So, if you don't have a book, again, I apologize. I will get you a book. We are working on that. I want the books to be the books that are supposed to be here, and the books over there are the books that are supposed to be over there. So that's why I'm going to be making some new North Point books today. But we're going to be on page 42. So if you have your book, we're just going to be looking at page 42, and we're not going to get rushed. We're not going to get crazy. We're just going to go through this and take a look at some of the stuff that I believe, I'm really sure that's important. We've been talking about negative thinking and negative self-talk and all of that kind of stuff. This morning, we want to talk about creating in ourselves a growth mindset. I need to know that I can be better than who I am. Now look, when I say something like that, when I say I want to know in my knower that I can be better than myself right now. Some people take a look at that and say, are you saying that I'm less than, right? No. You may be the most magnificent person on the face of the earth. You may be super duper and all of that stuff. However, you can always be more gooder, right? We can always be a little bit better. So that's what. And I will tell you this, that we have done all sorts of things. And folks have always, every meta-analysis that we've all done, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, we've found that people, no matter who they are, no matter what station in life, no matter where they are in life, they still desire to be a little bit better, right? We want a little bit, not necessarily more, but we want to be a little bit better in ourselves. This is just part of the human condition. It's who we are. We don't want to be stunted right here. We want to go somewhere else, right? We want to be better at whatever. How many people know that when you have a job you really care about, you want to be better at that job?
Yes.
Yeah. Yesterday we did one of these things, and over at the other group they can tell you I set everything up, and man, it was looking good, and it looked good. It really did. It looked great. It wouldn't start. It wouldn't run. It was like having a really nice new car that didn't have an engine. It wouldn't do anything. So thankfully, Mr. Farmer was in here, and he came down, and in 30 seconds he had it going. So wanting to be better, knowing that I want my mind to grow and I want to have a growth mindset so that I can be better, I went to see my boss this morning and said, you need to show me how to do this the 9th time. And so she did, and she's really good at it, and she showed me how to do it. And I'm assuming that we are broadcasting just like we're supposed to be, and it looks great and all of that kinds of stuff. And if it's not, she'll contact me here in a minute and say, nothing's happening over here. But I think it's all going to work out real well. So how come it's important for us to have a growth mindset?
Is that like having an open mind?
Well, it does take an open mind to have a growth mindset, but what a growth mindset is that I'm going to be better at whatever. I'm going to be a better dad. I'm going to be a better mom. I'm going to be a better client even. I'm going to be a better student. I want to be a better student of what? I want to be a better student of life. Right now, I'm taking a course in computers. I don't like the idea that there's other folks that know more about computers than I do. How many folk know there's always going to be somebody that knows more about computers than I do, right? There's always going to be those people who are better at whatever it is than we are, but that doesn't mean that we can't move up the scale some, right? I may not ever be able to be the mostest, goodest ever computer person ever, but I can get better at it than I am right now. And one of the issues is that I stayed away from computers for many, many, many years because, they're computers. And I didn't want to fool with them. But now, there's a few things that I need to do with the computer. And Mr. Farmer gave me this computer and said, there you go. I said, hey. So that's a great big honor. He gave me this computer, said, go do stuff with it. So now I'm doing stuff with it. And I found out pretty quickly he meant more than a paperweight, more than holding, I want you to do stuff on it. So I'm having to learn to do that. But if you have a growth mindset, what does that do? It helps you to expand your vision for who?
Your options are endless.
For you. Yeah, it helps you to expand your vision for you. It helps you to get more of what you need in your life to get more of what you need in your life, right? This is a wonderful facility, and we say that all the time. I like this facility. This is great. This is fantastic. We got a nice kitchen. We got good food. We got all of that stuff. But look, this isn't the end all of my goal for my life, right? This is not where I want to spend the rest of my life. I don't want to be a client in here for the rest of my life. I want to go through here, get what we've got, let that grow my experience a little bit, then go do something different. Right? I want to be able to be sober and sane without help. And when I say without help, I don't mean without, you know what I'm talking about. I mean I need to be able to be sober and sane by myself if it's necessary. Yeah. And when I get out of here, look, I've got a sponsor, I've got groups that I go to, and we need to have all of that kind of help. But I also need to have help that comes from within me. So I need to grow and I need to do some stuff. So here's the deal. We're going to look at developing a growth mindset. Believing, look, and this is not just believing, it's believing through hard work. How many people like hard work? They're crazy people. I like hard work. So you need to get a job out there breaking those big rocks into little rocks or something. Look, but here's the deal. The Bible tells us that work is a blessing. Right? Because you know what they do every now and then? When you're working really hard and you're doing really well, what do they do every now and then?
Give you a raise.
They give you a raise. Sometimes they give you a paycheck. Sometimes they pat you on the back. Sometimes they do some good stuff for you. So through hard work, I can develop abilities that I didn't have before. Right? Through hard work. Now I'm not under any idea that me learning to get back into the computer and doing the things I need to do on the computer and all of that stuff is going to be all that easy. I know that there's some things there that I don't know that I'm going to have to work through, and I'm going to have to work on that. But I do know that as I work on that, I'm going to be able to enhance those abilities. Right? My wife bought me a new laptop. Isn't that neat? Yeah. Bought me a brand new laptop, and I said, that is so nice. I got it out the other day, and I looked it all over, everywhere, and the laptop that she has that I've been using has a little button right up on top of it that you can turn on. It's right up at the top of the thing. You turn it on up there. And then there's another computer that she has that you push the little button on the side of it. I looked that whole computer over, that whole laptop. I looked over the bottom of it, on the top of it, on all of the sides. There's no way to turn it on. So I'm thinking, hey, it's one of those magical ones. So I'm sitting there going, come on. Turn on. And guess what? It never worked. It did not come on. And so I'm going, okay. So I'll never be able to use this.
The instructions.
I did not read the instructions. I don't know how come people think me and read instructions. We don't read instructions. What's that about?
You were right.
I waited, of course, like I do all the time, till my wife was able to come over and explain some things. It happens to have a little button right up here on the keystroke thing, and I said, okay, so now turn it on. So guess what?
It's work.
It doesn't work great. Guess what that means? I had a mind growth moment. Right? I had a moment before that, my abilities were such, I couldn't even turn my computer on. But now my abilities have morphed into a place where we can get this thing working up, and it's shooting up. If it wasn't going over there very well, they would have already called me and said, "What you did?" So it's working pretty well. So you see, those abilities, we have to have that mindset that, yes, I can do this. That keeps us from becoming what? Frustrated. How many people get frustrated? Oh, goodness. Yeah, I'm frustrated right now.
I am a little bit.
A little bit frustrated. We do, and I was talking to Miss Sierra earlier and said, man, I think it was yesterday, this is just frustrating. It's frustrating because I don't know. And it can be frustrating because we don't know. And sometimes even in our relationships, we can get frustrated because we don't know what's going on with that other individual. Right? I get frustrated because I don't know why it is that every time I get sober and every time things look like they're working very well for me, I go back out and I use it again. That can be really frustrating, can't it? I mean, I get frustrated because I have to drive home, and I know these people did it on purpose. Okay? Mm-hmm. There are 3 or 4 liquor stores sitting right on the side of the road on the way to my house. They put those things there on purpose. Yeah. And it's frustrating to me. Look, I've been sober for a while. I've been sober longer than some of you have been alive, but I will tell you this, that it's still, when I go by those liquor stores, I still know where they are. I can't tell you their address, but I can get you there. I know where they are. That addiction that is still in me goes over there and says, look, it's right there. Look, and if you look, they have these great big old windows in them. Why do they have the great big old windows?
So you can see all the liquor.
You can see all the booze. All that booze. And so you get all frustrated about that kind of stuff, and you say, well, I'm going to go get me a quart of milk, and you go down to H-E-B, and then you go through the liquor store aisle, and you go, oh, my God. It's a little bit frustrating to me that still, after all these years, I'm still a little bit attracted to that. So that's a little bit frustrating. So there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that's going to frustrate me. But what I need to know is if I have a growth mindset, I can go past that. I can go beyond that. So that's what we need to have in our mind. Now, here's the other thing that really messes us up sometimes. And remember, a growth mindset tells me that I can get these abilities that I need to get a good job, right? To have a good relationship, to have a happy family, right? To stay sober, stay in my recovery, to stay away from those behaviors that cause me to have issues. I can do all of those things with a little bit of hard work and a little bit of determination and commitment. I can do those things. What does that mean to me?
You're growing.
Say it again?
You're growing.
We're growing. We can grow. We don't need to grow up. We don't need to grow out, but we need to grow mentally and we need to grow spiritually. We need to grow, right? We need to have a growth mindset. We need to be able to say, yes, I can. Y'all remember President Barack Obama?
Yes, sir.
President Barack Obama, that was his byword. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And did he? Yes, he was president of the United States for 8 years, walking around saying, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And he did. And he did do that. We need to take that as an example, and I need to know that, yes, I can. Because I will tell you this, while I'm out there, When we leave from here, we're going to run into a lot of stuff. Well, one of the things we're going to run into are people who are going to tell you, no, you can't.
Prove them wrong.
Yeah, and they're wrong. But they're going to tell you that. They're going to tell you, I've known you for 30 years, and every time you mess this up, no, not this time. Because I have changed my idea. Before I knew that I was an addict destined to fail. Now I know that I'm an addict with a growth mindset, and things are going to be different. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because these are the things that I want in my life. And I know that I can grow into them. I had a person tell me not too long ago, I know I can't do that. Okay. Why do you know you can't do that? Never been able to before. Okay.
Get you the same results if you keep doing it. It's insanity.
Yeah.
Same results.
Y'all remember what we said yesterday, day before,
Same
whatever it was?
Whatever it was.
If you say you can, you can. If you say you can't, you can't.
You're like speaking in
Like Thomas the Train.
Hey.
Say it again.
Like Thomas the Train. I think I can. I think I can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like the little train. I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. But the other thing that really gets a hold of us, and a lot of us suffer from this, and that's a fixed mindset. Y'all know what a fixed mindset is?
Set in your way. Ain't changing it.
Staying the way you are. A fixed mindset tells us, hey, it doesn't make any difference how hard I work. It doesn't make any difference how much I go to school, how much I try to do this, how much I practice, how much I do those things. It doesn't make any difference how much of that I do. If there are people out there that have those abilities and they're just born with those abilities. And that's why Mr. Farmer can work on the computer like he can do that. He is just real sharp with the computer. It's because he was born with that ability. I wasn't born with that ability. I wasn't born with that. I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do that. And the people that do are born with that ability. It's innate. They were born. Is that true?
No.
No.
You have to learn.
No. He had to study it. He had to work with it. He had to go back and practice it. He had to do all of those things before he got to be a whiz at it. Right? You don't become a whiz just by wanting to be a whiz. You don't become a whiz just because somebody walked by and whizzed on you. You don't get that. You don't have. That's not how you do that. You practice it. You decide what you want to do, and then you go do that. Anybody here ever been in one of those small airplanes?
Mm-hmm.
You have you? You ever been in a small airplane?
I've never been on an airplane.
Never been on an airplane in your life?
Like a private plane?
Yeah, a little bitty. I fly little 150s, 172s. They're little bitty Cessnas. They'll only hold 150 will hold 3 people. You can force 3 people in it. 172 will hold 4. When you first start flying, you take off and you go up and you fly for about 30 minutes and then you land. And that's it. And you have to do that over and over and over until somebody says, well, you can do it on your own. Well, when you first get in that thing, you're like this. And you take off and and the very first time you go over there and say, well, I just want a discovery flight. Okay. They'll put you in that thing. You think, okay, he's going to fly me around. That's not how it works. He says, okay, you're in control. You fly it. Okay, I can barely drive a car. You want me to fly an aeroplane, yeah. And so he said, pull it back like that. And all of a sudden, I'm flying an airplane. Yes, I can. Yeah, and we need to get to that place to get away from our fixed thinking to get to that growth thinking of, yes, I can. Yes, I can. You're really good at that. But yes, I can do that too. I'm not all that impressed anymore about what somebody else can do, because what they can do, I can do that too. I can do that. It may take me a little longer, but look, if you'll get out of the way, it won't be too much longer. I'll be as quick at it as you are. Because yes, I can. Right? And so we all need to have that attitude. We all need to have that mindset that this stuff is not just innate. People don't have these abilities just because they were born with these abilities. They cultivated these abilities that they have. All of your counselors, aren't they wonderful? Now look, they're listening now. You can't be, don't be saying nasty. They're good.
They're amazing.
Yeah, I got that. They're amazing. Yeah. They really are, but I will tell you this, that they did not get there just because that's the way that they were born. They were just born with all of that compassion, and they were born with all of that knowledge, and they were born with all... No, they went to school for a long time. They went to school for a while. They got that. Then they got licensed, and they had to be a counselor intern for 4,000 hours. 4,000 hours. And then they became LCDCs, and they still have to every year when it's 2 years. Every 2 years when they get their license renewed, they have to go. They have to prove that they did a certain amount of training all of those 2 years. And while they're doing that, they still have to train here just because that's what we do. We continually train. So, I mean, if you want to be something, you have to be willing to do the work to be that something, right? So we need to have the mindset that here's the deal. Whatever it is that I want to be, all I have to do is figure out what I have to do to be what I want to be, right? And then I can do that. Here's one of the things. I want to share this with you. I want you to take it the way it's meant. There are people that come into recovery, come into a rehab with an idea of failing when they get out of here when they first began. And they can be here for 30 days, 45 days with never even having any hope that they're going to be okay when they get out of here. Mm-hmm. And that happens a lot. And when you get out of here, if I don't have the hope, if I don't have the mindset that I can be what I want to be once I get out of here, then what happens?
You're not going to be what you want to be.
Yeah, we don't make it. Relapse is not failure. We know that, but we don't make it. And what do we want to do?
Make it.
We want to make it. Yeah, we don't want to come back. We love every one of y'all. We think you're fantastic. We like you, love you, and think nothing but good of you. But we don't want you to come back. Unless it's to come back as a counselor, or come back as a visitor, or come back as a friend. But don't come back over here, because we're going back through this again.
With the same problems.
Yeah, and and we're not saying if that happens, and sometimes it does happen in my life. When it happens, I'm gonna go right back to where I know I can get the help. Right? I'm gonna go right back to where I know that the help is there, but I want to get to the place where I'm done with that at some point. Right? Everybody have their book, except for those who don't have books. And your book is weird because it ain't the right book.
Yeah, it says important parts of the South Point program.
Yeah. So, but I apologize. This afternoon, I have to leave a little bit early today because I'm pastor, and so I got to go to church. It's Wednesday night, so I have to leave a little early because my church is all the way over in Cucamonga. And but I'm going to try my bestest to get some of those books, the North books, made. And I have the book and all of that stuff. So all I have to do is copy it and then put the holes in it, put the thing in.
Don't forget the holes.
I found AA books at $12 at where did we go to last night?
Fellowship.
They're $12, so don't worry about even getting that.
Well, I'm going to let me look some more. I just keep forgetting it because all of this stuff that we're doing new and all of that to me, it's been taking my brain, and so I still want to see if because often you can find those things for free. And they should be free.
Well, these are brand new books.
I understand brand new, but you can still get brand new books for free. So let me look to see what we can do on that. So if you're on your page 42, we're looking at assignment 5, and it says assessing self-care deficits.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Background.
Say it again.
Lack of.
Lack of. We're just not taking care of what?
Ourselves.
Yeah, me. I'm not taking care of me enough. You know, I suffer from, I'm a workaholic and I like to work all the time. And I try to tell people this is what I do for fun. I enjoy working. But I had a boss tell me not too long ago, you're going to take some time off. And I said, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. They said, look, there's this thing called self-care. And when you burn down and become a little lump of quivering flesh in the middle of the floor, you're no good to anybody. You know, you're no good to anybody at that point in time. So you have to have some self-care in your life. And so we need to be having some self-care in our life. When we're getting into recovery, one of the things that we need to understand is that this can be just a little about us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, who are you getting sober for?
Ourselves.
Yeah, we got to get sober. Look, I got sober for a bunch of other different people. A lot of times, I got sober for my wife. That lasted about 3 months. It's been a long time ago. It didn't last forever. It didn't last long. You know, I got sober for my children. I had a guy we have a recovery thing at our church, and I had a guy in there that told me he stopped using because his daughter told him that she wanted him to stop using.
You have to want it for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we tried to tell him and all of that stuff, and it didn't work. He didn't, you can't be sober for somebody else. You have to be sober for yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that you getting sober is not going to benefit a whole bunch of other people, right? So when I got sober, it benefited a whole bunch of other people. It benefits our family. It benefits our job. It benefits society itself. It benefits a lot of people. But the first person I want to be benefiting
Is yourself.
is me. I need to, and a lot of us look, and sometimes we feel like it's a little bit selfish and all of that kind of stuff, but it's okay to be a little bit selfish about the stuff because we need to get sober for us. All right? So, we need to understand what we're looking at real quick. We need to understand the relationship between addictions and problems with self-care. Right? So, why does it cause us problems with self-care?
Because we're more worried about.
What was it?
We're more worried about getting high than taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good point. What was your point?
Never mind. I went to it.
All right, okay. Just went right out your mind.
I forgot what I was
See what that'll do? Yeah. We're more worried about the fact that we need to get another fix. We're more worried about the fact that we want to get high again or drunk again or something, some kind of behavior. I was addicted to the behavior more than I was to the drug, I believe. Oh, yes. I love that stuff. I'm go to the bar. What are we going to do when we go out to dance? Now, see, you guys, it may not be the same with you guys, but with me, it was to go out and act a fool and get in a fight and do, all of that chaos. And the next morning you wake up, God, what happened? This hurts and that hurts and all of those kinds of things. But the next weekend you do the exact same thing. So some of those things, look, when that addiction gets in the way of my self-care, guess what happens? I have issues. I wind up in jail. I wind up with consequences. And consequences? Are the consequences okay?
Yeah.
But they're negative.
Now we don't like no consequences. Consequences are good, right?
Yeah, you learn from your consequences.
Well, we learn from our consequences. Why are we here? Consequences. There were consequences in our life. Stuff happened that got us here. Those consequences are things that will save what?
Your backside.
They'll save your life. My consequences saved my life. I was destined. I was going to die because I was at that place, like I told you, I was living under houses and doing all kind of crazy stuff. Wrecked my car, flipped it 6 times. The life flighted me off to to the hospital and all of that kind of crazy mess. And when I woke up, I understood. There was a lady there that told me, you don't need to be worried about coming home. If you live through this, there's probably a house somewhere you could live under. You need to. So I'm looking at all this huge consequences, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I need to go back one more time and listen to all of those people tell me everything that I already know one more time. And I'm thinking I can do that job better than they can one more time. So I went and I did all of that stuff, and
You get it that one more time.
here I am, and it was one more time.
That one more time saved your life.
It was that one more time. Exactly. And I've told you, I worked out the prison for a long 16 and a half years. A long time. And I met so many good people that were in prison because of whatever. They had done stuff, but they were still good people. And almost, not all of them, but almost all of them told me, coming here saved my life. So the consequences are good things. They save our lives. They do some good things to us. Self-care involves a whole lot of things. Now, let me ask again. Some of you, and I know you don't have books, but how many people have been studying the book?
Me. I finished it.
Okay. You need to be reading your book and just studying your book. Your counselor is giving you treatment plans that allude to the book and stuff like that, because the book is good. There's some really good stuff. When I first got the book, I said, okay, I'll read that when I get a chance. And that's what most people do. But then I said, well, I need, it's part of my job. I need to read the book. So I read the book, and I'm going, oh, okay, the book is good. There's some good stuff in the book. When you go home tomorrow, you need to take your book with you. And as you're driving a truck, you need to be reading. No, don't do that. Don't do that. But you need to reread the book. Go back through there, because it will show you some good points. And that's what we need. We need things that said, all right, I need to do that. And this is one of the big things. Self-care involves a lot of things. It's not just that one thing. It's not just staying sober. What is staying sober?
Not putting in.
What is it?
Not putting in.
Not putting anything in me. But here's the deal. Stay sober.
If you drive drunk, it's like maintaining it and nourishing it, and you have to grow from it. Because if you're uncomfortable and you're growing and you're getting somewhere, it's just not. There's being sober, and then there's recovery. There's two different things.
That's exactly right. Yes. Staying sober is sobriety. I can stay sober, and every drunk out there gets sober for a minute. Every addict out there gets sober for a little while, right?
But if you're not in recovery, working,
right.
You're supposed to drive.
Right. That's why if a person has already decided in their mind, and we're a little bit off cue here, but y'all hang on. But if a person has already decided in their mind that they're going back to the old people, places, and things from whence they cameth, are they in recovery or in sobriety?
Sobriety.
Yes, because a recovery is not just staying sober. A recovery is a recovery
and that's a set of
lifestyle.
And that's a set of a trigger already.
Yeah, lifestyle and a mindset of recovery. And you're right, that's already a trigger. I'm already triggering. Y'all know that relapse starts months before, right? And a lot of time, and y'all don't, but look, a lot of time relapse starts right here.
Yeah, because you're
I'm thinking. Right. I'm thinking about somebody, or I'm thinking about something. And so we need to get all of that out of our minds and understand that if I don't stop the stinking thinking, then I'm going to wind up using or drinking. Right? Y'all see how if you rhyme it, it has to be true. That's true. That's the way it is. So self-care it involves a lot of things. In fact, this could be one of the most important parts of the program that you're going through here. Excuse me. It helps to promote self-worth and confidence. Now, we need to understand that we are people of high worth, right? You believe that about yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
You believe that you are worthy?
Yes.
What are you worthy of?
No worries.
What is it?
If you don't have the word, you
Girls
don't
can
have
do
nothing.
anything.
Yeah. If you don't believe that you are worthy, then you're not going to be able to get yourself into a place where you need to be. I'm worthy of what? I'm worthy of a good life. I'm worthy of respect, right? I'm worthy of love. I'm worthy of other people caring for me, right? I'm worthy of a life without addictions, right?
Right.
And if I get to a place where I feel like I'm worthy, what does that do to me? It gives me confidence. Yeah. Do you believe you're a confident person?
We all can be confident at times.
Yeah, and I like the way she said that. I can be confident at times. But is it okay to be? Is it okay to be confident at times?
Yeah.
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 Should you be confident all the time or just at times?
Well, and here's the deal. If I can be confident in some little thing, then I can get confident in some other thing. So I need to nurture the thing that I'm confident in. I need to do some of the things that if I'm confident in doing something and it's a sober something, then I need to do that. I need to nurture that. I need to work on that a little bit, because when I get really good and confident at that, is that going to help my confidence level in other things?
Growth.
Yeah. When I think of myself, you know what? I did that very well. I did that really well. Can I do something else just as well? And look,
With practice, you can.
the answer to that is yeah. So am I always going to be magnificent and wonderful at everything that I ever do?
No, not at all.
Well, probably there's going to be a few things. But, you know, we all understand that there's somebody out there that's going to be better than me at everything. You know. And y'all ever watch those? I'm sure you do. I know they do. They watch those TED speakers.
Yes, sir, we
Yeah,
do.
TED Talk.
TED Talk.
Yeah, the TED Talk. Some of those guys are great, huh? Some of them not so much. You know, some of them you wonder why. They stand in one spot. And I used to teach public speaking, and you're supposed to move about, you're supposed to do, and these guys stand in one spot. Yes, this is what I was talking about in the woods. Okay, you know, but you look at that guy and think, what amount of confidence does that person who knows he's not a good public speaker have to get up there and do a public speech? You know, because what's the number one fear in the world?
Judgment.
Judgment?
Speaking in front of people.
What is it?
I don't like speaking in front of people.
You don't like speaking in front of people?
Judgment or failure.
Okay. So the number one fear in the world is
Rejection.
public speaking.
Yeah.
What's number two?
Rejection.
What's that?
Rejection.
Rejection?
Right.
What is it?
Heights.
Height. Number two is death. So what does that tell you?
I think that.
Really?
People are more afraid of public speaking than they are of dying.
So you're like, I'm
Isn't that crazy?
That's sure.
Yeah.
Should be scared to die.
Yeah. Well, I'm not scared of death at all. I'm a little bit afraid of dying. You know,
Yeah,
I don't want to fall over on somebody, you know, and do all that kind of stuff. So, look, here's the deal. This is going to promote self-confidence, self-worth. We're asking you to focus on who?
Yourself.
Yourself. And sometimes, you know, we find that kind of hard. You know, I talk to people all the time, and a lot of the ladies that I talk to, what do you think their major focus is?
Their man.
Their what?
Their man.
Their man? Sometimes.
The way
Sometimes. How do I get?
Children.
Yeah. They're cheering most of the time. I just need to get back out here and get back out cheering. No. That's not why we're going to work to get you out of here. No. That's not the deal. And we're not working to get you out of here. We're working to get you out of addiction. We're working to get you out of the situation.
Yeah.
You know, we're always going to be at a place where we're addicted, right?
Yeah.
But we don't always have to live that life. We don't always have to do that. All right. So we may not be able to get the cure. There's no pill yet. I'm working on a pill.
You working on it?
I'm working on a pill. And when I get that pill, I'm gonna hide it. I'm gonna look. If I sell it, it'd just be, it'd have to be $32 billion. Come on, we have to sell a lot of it.
Hard to swallow.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to swallow. Yeah. So anyway, we're focusing solely on you. It's about you. It's not about your children. It's not about the man in your life. It's not about the woman in your life. Although all of those people are going to benefit greatly by you getting into recovery. Right?
It's like an old saying, if you can't love or be good within yourself, you don't got it to give.
Well, and that's a good point. If you can't care for yourself, how you gonna care for other people?
Right. You gotta.
If you can't care for yourself, how you gonna care for your children? If you can't care for yourself, how you gonna care for your spouse?
Right.
You just really, if you can't care for yourself, you really don't have much to give to someone else. Right?
Right.
So, what does that tell us?
Self-care first.
Well, you got to be okay with you. Right?
Self-worth.
A lot of self-worth. I'm going to tell you, you are a fearfully and wonderfully made human being. And we've been talking about self-talk. We don't want to do any negative self-talk. If you can't talk, if you can't say good things about yourself, just don't say anything about yourself. Right? Isn't that a good point? That's a good point. Yeah. So, we talked about it in the other group over there yesterday, tutoring your own tutor.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah. Is she bothering you?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Don't all right on. So look, here's some of the stuff, and people sometimes when you get into early recovery, I remember early recovery. I was there 7 different times. I remember early recovery, and I will tell you this: that I got my feelings hurt easy. When I was judged, I didn't feel good. I thought life hated me. I thought God was trying to kill me. I wasn't having a good time at all. Yeah, so here's the deal. When somebody would come and tell me to do something inane and asinine, what do they call it? We had to clean our own plates. Bust your own food. Bust your own plates. Get your own stuff. What? I'm in here for recovery, not to learn how to work at the resting room. What do you mean? Make my bed. I'm here for recovery. I don't want to learn how to be a maid. Come on, that's not what I'm here for. But why do we do that?
Basic life skills.
Learning some basic life skills. Look, and here's the deal. I heard a TED talk where the guy was talking to the military recruits, and he said, if you want to be great in life, what do you do? If you want to be great in life, what do you do?
Start the day off with task.
Make your bed when you wake.
You make your bed.
Yeah.
If you want to be the greatest person you can possibly be, the very first thing you do is make your bed. And when that bed is made to the point where that drill sergeant can walk in there and look at that bed and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is how you make a bed.
There's a thing we watched.
Then you're moved on.
Admiral McRae.
Yeah, it's Michonne did that one.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, and that's great. And we need to live that same way. If I can do this well,
yeah,
I can do everything well. If I can do that well, I can do all things well. So the very first thing, that means I have to take some responsibility for me. And I have to take some pride in who I am, right? That's my bed.
And it just makes
That's
your
my
room
bed.
cleaner.
Say it again.
It just makes your room look cleaner also. because
Yes.
it makes it- Yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you this, when people come to inspect, and you know, we have people who inspect here, I don't, but we have people who inspect, and when they walk in that room and they see your bed, and they see the room is clean, and they see there's not any mice over there fighting the roaches,
I just-
yeah, then at that point in time, they look at you in a different light. And when they look at you in a different light, guess what? You look at yourself
different.
in a different light. You know, doesn't it feel a whole lot better instead of having somebody have to stand up in front of the group and say, "Yo, boy," to say, "Man, you guys did great. That was wonderful. Yo, Kevin, your bed, it was just beautiful. Eh? We took a picture of it. We sent it to the recovery people in Houston and all. This is how a bed should look." Right?
Right.
We do that same stuff out at the prison.
Okay.
Well, I mean, they had to have their beds just exactly the same way. Everything would just had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And every now and then, there was some guy that would tell us, "I ain't making my bed." Okay. All right, then. We had a good time and all. So here's the deal. This is what we're doing. Self-care involves taking care of what? Us. Taking care of our bodies. Right? Take care of us.
Yep.
We want everything to be clean.
Everything.
Right? We want to wash, we want to wash stuff. And if you take your shoes and your socks and shoes off, and you throw your shoes over here and you throw your socks against the wall and they stick to the wall, it's time to wash socks, right? It's time to do something. We want to have some good hygiene. We want to be groomed. We want to be, getting the right medical and dental care and all of that stuff. Take your medication as it is prescribed.
Yes.
Right. Stuff like that. Eating a balanced diet.
Well, as for balanced diet, no.
Now, I will tell y'all, we have a balanced diet here. Yes, we do. I saw the cook the other day. She took the plate. She puts a sandwich here. She put some other stuff here. She put some other stuff. Perfectly balanced on that plate. When we know what we're doing. Perfectly balanced. We do that kind of stuff. So here we do all of that stuff. Eating a balanced diet. Some of it involves taking care of our environment. Is it important to take care of your environment?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Clean your house.
Cleaning up. Y'all saw her throw that.
Right.
So cleaning up. I have walked through. I haven't done that here. I'm not going to go in y'all's places, but I have walked through some of the guys' places, and they're fairly clean. Can they be better? Yeah, we need that. This is my house.
It could be like ours.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is my house. This is your home right now. This is your house. Used to, I had to go to hotels a whole lot. And when you walked into the hotel room, I had the mindset, this is my home while I'm here. This is why I would call the housekeeping lady and have her bring me clean sheets. And she said, "Well, I said, no. Bring me clean sheets." Why would I do that?
Because I know I used to work at Delta Towns.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't change those sheets. They're supposed to, we keep it. No, you don't. No, you don't. There's a toenail in that one. No, you don't. You don't. So I want clean sheets, and I want a pillowcase and all of that kind of stuff.
If they're being lazy, they'll just tuck it back in.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
No stains.
So if I'm taking care of, who's going to take care of your environment?
You.
I am. So the counselors and the RAs and stuff like that, they're going to come around and they're going to look and stuff, but they're not going to take care of your environment. You are responsible for taking care. And there's a reason for that. Because as addicts, we haven't been all that responsible, have we? No. We haven't taken care of things the way that we should take care of things. So we're learning a little bit of a spot check on how to take care of things. Right?
Right.
And we need that. As addicts, we need that. We need somebody to say, okay, I'm holding you responsible for this. How does that help me when we are talking about a growth mindset?
Helps you grow, like in life, like life skills.
Yeah, life skills, all of those things, getting all of those things together. I've had people tell me I cannot do that. I can't keep a clean house. I can't. Yes, you can. You can. Why? If you can't keep a clean house, what does that mean? It's lazy. That's lazy. That's not responsible. That's not taking care of my environment. So this is what this is all about. Just working a little bit, take care of our environment. So keeping our living environment sanitary, keeping it safe, responding to crisis situations appropriately. How many people know that we shouldn't go completely nuts when something happens?
Yeah.
How many people know that we go completely nuts when something happens? When we're in our addiction, especially. I used to panic. I'd panic all the time and wake up in the morning and look to see how much money I had. And if I didn't have $2.35, I'd panic.
$2.35.
That's what a pint of vodka cost back when I was in my addiction.
Now it costs like $10.
I have no clue. It's just like cigarettes. When I quit smoking cigarettes,
How much
they
was
were
it?
33 cents a pack.
They're like $33 a pack. So
Yeah, now they're about $33 a pack. So they were 30, and I quit smoking cigarettes because I wanted to save money.
you wanted your little things to come back.
Yeah.
They're called.
But when I quit smoking, see, they were 33 cents a pack. So yeah, I was smoking 3 packs a day. So if I quit smoking, what would I save? $1 a day. That's $30 a month. That was a lot of money. But, so I quit smoking. I saw a lady the other day who was counting out her pennies and nickels and dimes, trying to get to $15 so she could get her a pack of cigarettes. And she furtively was looking around at people. I'm not giving you any change. No, I'm not gonna do that. No, I was. We were down in South Texas when the hurricane was coming in years and years ago, and we were living in a trailer park. And the hurricane was coming, and they said, "Okay, everybody go to the school. We're gonna hide in the school." So we're headed out to school, and my neighbor over there waved me down, and he said, "Could you look? See, we're not gonna leave, and we're gonna stay here and face the hurricane in a trailer." Okay, that's not real smart. And he said, "Could you run to and he didn't have a car. He said, "Could you run to the store for us real quickly before you go to the school?" I said, "Absolutely, man. What do you need?" He said, "Well, I need a case of beer and 3 or 4 packs of cigarettes." I'm not. He said, "Well, I'll buy them." I said, "Oh, no, I'm not going to. If the hurricane doesn't get you, the alcohol and the cigarettes are going to. So I'm not going to do that." So we have to take responsibility for ourselves, right? Addiction can really, really affect our motivation, right? What are we motivated? If I'm in the midst of my addiction, what am I motivated to do?
To get high.
To get high. To get high. Yeah. To find out. What am I most worried about?
The next
About
phase.
if you have enough money to get high.
If I'm going to have enough money to get high, if I'm going to have enough of whatever to get high, because there's other ways to get the drug than to, we can steal stuff, we can sell stuff, we can, there's all sorts of ways to get what we need when we feel like we need it, right? So it messes up our motivation. But what else does it do? We're motivated to get the drug, but what else are we motivated to do? Usually, not much. We're not really motivated to a whole lot of self-care, are we?
No.
Not too concerned about our own self-care. We're not really motivated to take care of our children the way that we should take care of our children, right? And if we have legal issues, are we motivated to deal with those legal issues?
No.
No.
I learned that the hard way.
No. If we're having problems at the job, are we motivated to take care of those problems? No. Because usually when I was in my addiction, my job got in the way of my addiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was hard for me to do stuff like go to work because, I wasn't working, I was using. So I didn't want to go to work. So my motivation is there. I'm still motivated, but my motivation is screwed up, right?
Yeah.
My motivation is I'm motivated to do things that I really shouldn't be motivated to do. And then I'm not motivated to do the things
That you should be motivated.
that you should be motivated. Now, here's one thing that we blame just on marijuana. And we put it on the board before, but let's do it again. What does this mean?
That means the opposite of oh wait, that's so long.
Syndrome.
Y'all probably can't read it over at South, but this is amotivational syndrome. What is that?
The opposite of
Yeah. It's anytime you put an A in front of a word, it means the opposite of that word. Right? A fast would be what? Slow.
I mean slow.
It would be slow. So marijuana will cause amotivational syndrome, but look, we blame that on marijuana all the time, and it's true, it does cause that, but won't every other drug do that as well? Whatever my drug is, I tell you what, when I was using, see, she is amotivational to the group.
I know.
Very disruptive to the group.
I'm asking.
Yeah. So, any drug that we're using is going to cause amotivational syndrome because we're going to be motivated, and it'd probably be better to call it something like perverted motivational syndrome because we're not motivated to do the good thing. We're motivated to do the drugs. Yeah. So our addiction is going to mess with our motivation. Right? How many people in here today know that you have a level of motivation right now?
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah, we all do.
Get sober.
Yeah, we all do. We all have that motivation. We're motivated to get sober because I want to be sober for myself. I'm motivated to get sober because I want to be sober for my children. I want to stay sober for my job. I want to stay sober for society. I want to stay sober for God. I want to just stay sober. I'm motivated on those levels. I'm also motivated for other things. What else am I motivated for? I see some motivation.
Clean my house.
Your house clean.
Clean my
Keep your
car.
house clean. What was that?
Clean my car.
Clean your
Motivated
car.
for the different kind of life.
To get a job.
Motivated for a different. Motivated to get a job.
Go back to work.
Go back to work. I've seen a lot of motivation in this class, especially when we're getting closer to break time. Motivation for nicotine. I see all of it. So, if our motivation, if we feel like our motivation is screwed up, how do you check it?
Catch yourself.
How do you check your own personal motivation?
Here, check yourself or you wreck yourself.
Make yourself motivated.
Okay.
Get up. Talk to yourself.
Now, here's what we do.
Up or not.
You can do this yourself, but you can do a importance scale. All you have to do is a piece of paper, draw your little line up there, and put on the very top of that thing, what's the most important thing for me? So what's the most important thing?
Sobriety and God.
Oh, me, myself, and
Okay. You said sobriety?
Well, that's not going.
What?
What else?
Well, if I don't, then that's.
Just say being good to myself all the way around.
Being good to me?
Yeah.
A different way to live. Peace. Different way to live.
Ow.
Peaceful. Peace.
What?
Peace. A different way of living. I want peace. Yeah.
Oh, I just want some peace.
Peace of mind.
God first, then us,
Yeah.
then our children.
Anything else?
Yeah.
See, when we put that up there, we look at the very top of that thing and we know, look, all we're doing right now is writing that down. But if I'm actually, factually working to make that more of a reality in my life, that's my motivation level. My motivation level is to be close. My very first thing is to be closer to God.
Yeah.
That's for me. That's my own. Be closer to God. My second thing is to be closer to my wife and make that what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. My third thing is what?
Children.
No, my kids. I don't.
Good to you. Can we put her in the hallway?
I don't know that the people in the hallway deserve that. But it'll be, look, all of that disruption, all of that's all going to be in her note. So
She's just doing that
She gets antsy when it gets closer to her break.
yeah, she get a little antsy.
She just has
Look,
one more day to aggravate you, something like that.
it is 10 o'clock, so we're going to take our break for the middle of this thing. So let us be back at 10:15, and we will finish it up. So you guys at South, we'll take a break. Oh, you're-
So dramatic.
I already thought about that.
thank you. You did good work.
I was like, this is like a lot of breath in my ear for what?
Nice stroke.
I'm gonna live on it, so I'm sorry. What's the medication?
I need medication too. You definitely need it.
I know.
You distract me in class.
I know, bro. One more day of this and I'll leave it.
They're lying.
They're lying. Distracts me.
I think you said they're lying. She needs medication.
Yeah, I'm gonna medicate. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you were on drugs.
Not anymore.
But since I've watched your behavior
It's medication.
over here,
I'm naturally high
I'm
strung.
going to ask, how'd you get those drugs?
I think she is about to get those drugs.
Naturally. Yeah.
I can get that.
Okay.
How many minutes do we get this
Excuse me, doctor.
Hey, babe. I know.
minutes do we
I'm naturally high strung, but I'm unmedicated.
How many minutes do we have?
15.
Okay, thank you, sir.
15. And I was able to smoke 9 cigarettes.
Hey,
Very.
okay.
Oh, man. Is that your coffee? That's your stuff?
Well, thank you.
It's gonna cause a fight sooner or later. I just hope that mine don't get tested because I'm being it's swinging.
Oh.
It is what it is.
Going out of here.
You know what you say? You go ahead.
I didn't even know he was behind me. I was
All right, my baby.
You ready to swing?
yeah, man, because I just don't understand. Like, mind your motherfucking business, man. Shit.
They hear y'all. I know y'all still streaming live. We heard them yesterday. They hear y'all gossiping. Hey, it's recording. You better lip talk. You better lip talk. You know y'all business. Put the dope down. Put the dope down. Let the police.
No, you know that sound that background sound, the white noise they put so you can't hear the conversations?
Start listening. Do the phone. How you do a whistle? Do it. There you go, that one.
Yeah.
That shit ain't work.
That's my phone?
Yep. When your dad asked me out here.
Oh, it's still recording.
What'd you say?
We're still recording.
Oh. She can give me a wet towel. Yeah, for a minute, because it gets cold in here. I usually put it on when air.
How did I get hot in here the first half?
Mr. Beck is here.
She's putting smell good stuff.
Smell good stuff?
Like plugins.
Really?
Yeah.
Yay!
That's
Yeah, I think that's
How many fucking
everything. You know the natural flavors actually contain human fetuses shit.
Human shit?
Yeah.
What?
Natural flavors.
Yeah, or what's the
Pepsi has it.
God, what is that one? It's from their anal glands. God, you got the wrong in that comment.
That's so good. That's why I like the peppermint oil and the oils that you use, the essential oils. Yes. My mom was doing one of that. It is a thing.
Yes.
Listen.
Thank you.
Probably went ate some pudding water though.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, fuck. They're the only one. I'm gonna go sleep.
Good morning.
Good morning, beautiful.
Really? Yes, awesome. I never went for him about forever. He might be my mom and my sister. You like see what she looks like. She looks like you.
Can you stop moving chairs around?
I was like, look at my ass, but yeah, we're gonna try to pull it off. Oh, God, yeah. Kind of right here, you can get the itch. Kind of right here. Kind of down.
Choke him out, dude. I think there's an attack. That's a good idea.
She's fucking with me.
Uh-oh.
Hi.
It's not an uh-oh computer's on and it's recording us.
I know.
It's not an uh-oh kind of thing. It's just saying, hey, how y'all doing? Put it out of your hair.
Well, you look, I like those hands.
Thank you. They're my faves. Apparently the fleas like them too or something. Gosh, damn. That fleas smell what it is in the yard. Aggressive.
Or maybe it looks like, what are you doing?
They still hook up like we put a paper over it. They can't see us, but they can hear us. They can hear us.
Get your back. Unless you, whatever you can do. What? You get a circle? Yeah. But I'll do this so you don't have a wet one.
Well, I just wanted to do the same. I didn't know I was on brand. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
There's no spine. What's up when there's no spine?
But it's like yours, and it has leaves on it. Yeah.
Yes, you're allergic to it.
So it's very fun.
And toasted it. I toasted it and then put butter on it. That's actually good. This whole thing is, I'll take it. I'll take it.
All this butter's going straight to my ass.
Yeah.
She got back.
No, that's what she's like,
It's good. Yeah.
I do.
Hey, Gail. I'll have to go. You do?
I will.
You will?
I'm
That's awesome. I would love to
I know, right?
Health food.
Well,
We don't need it's comfort food right here. It's not healthy. It's comfort.
I'm into comfort.
Everybody in group? Do I need to call everybody?
Yeah, there's some. Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind, there's a few people that aren't here. Where they may be. Sometimes their counselors kidnap them.
Okay.
All right, so we're back, and I appreciate y'all, you guys. Thank you for the sign-in sheets that's been turned in already. And over at South, we need to be getting our sign-in sheets together over there. The rest of today, we're going to talk a little bit. You know, we've been talking about this growth mindset and all that kind of stuff. And we've been talking about why it's an important thing to have a growth mindset. Because wherever I am, I want to be able to go somewhere farther. Right? I want to move up on the scale. I want to do different than what I'm doing now. right? I want to be somewhere. If I look back a year from now, I don't want to be at the same spot, right? Is that true?
Yes.
So what we're going to do is, how do we develop a growth mindset? How do we make that a reality in our lives?
Being uncomfortable.
Change our
Being
ways.
uncomfortable,
Changing our ways.
changing,
Be okay with your own company.
being okay with your own company. Sometimes it's good to be by myself. Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
good to be for a minute, as long as we don't allow that to become isolation, right? Right. I have met some people and they were really, really isolating, and they said, "Well, I just enjoy my own company."
Wow.
What's the saying? An alcoholic by themselves is in poor company. So, a drunk by themselves is in poor company, and an addict by themselves is in poor company. So it's not good for us to be isolated or alone for a long period of time. Every now and then I go out on my front porch. I have a front porch that is 60 feet long and 10 feet wide and 12 feet wide in another spot. And so it's just huge. But I have these big old wooden chairs out there that I can sit there and listen to the birds sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watch them go eat the stuff my wife makes me put out there. She bought special bird seed for the bird, and they eat the bird seed. And so, what did I learn about the birds eating the special bird seed?
They like to eat up all your money.
Say it again.
They like it.
Now, this is a life thing for you guys. Even if you buy the birds special bird seed,
They don't eat it.
keep it full up there, and nope.
They know they can come back right there and eat good food. Like they know they got a food source. Like I don't even know the words I'm trying to do for that, but
source. Have a food source.
Yeah. Like
All of that is true, but what I was looking for is the fact that if they'll eat the food that you give them, and they'll still poop on your car. They will. And it's special stuff, and it's expensive stuff, and it's hard to put in that bird feeder because it's hung way up. Get on a ladder, and anyway.
So you feed them the poop on your car, and you still clean your car. So
Right.
You're paying twice.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. How do we build, how do we input, how do we get that growth mindset going? Because look, I'm going to tell you, when I was looking, I knew I needed a growth mindset, but the thing that came to me more than anything else was look at all of the stuff that's happened to me in the past.
Yeah.
How can I grow from all of the stuff that's happened to me in the past? And there's people in my life that know everything that's happened to me in my past. How can I grow beyond that? How can I get away from all of the stuff that people already know about me and that I know about myself?
Process, feel it, let it
Process
go.
it.
Because if not, you're going to stay in that
Keep
moment
it in
and
the
you won't
past.
grow.
What did you say?
Keep it in the past.
Keep it in the past, because it's in the past. We need to keep it in the past. Man, that's a good saying, isn't it? Yeah, can you do that?
Some people can, some people can't.
Sometimes you can, and when you can, you should. But sometimes you can't, because I will tell you this: that my past a lot. I'll be sitting minding my own business, and my past will come back and say, "Hey, I'm still here." It does. So we got to learn how to move past all that stuff. So I'm going to make sure everybody gets one of these handouts, but I don't have one right now because of my computer. Again, not this one, but the other one in the office here wasn't printing. So I had to fight with it a minute. But a growth mindset is this. It means believing you can develop abilities through hard work. If I want to be something, I can be that. My daughter is a nurse. She's a registered nurse. You know how she became a registered nurse? Yeah, she put in and look, I can remember her coming home completely, totally, utterly stressed out. Yeah, I said, okay, what's wrong? She said, well, today I killed, what's one of those bald
Blood pressure?
Volleyball. What is that little ball?
You
Stress
call
balls?
stress balls? The stress balls?
No, it's one of the
Ping pong?
ball. You hit back and forth.
Oh.
Ping pong
Tennis
ball.
ball.
I know, it's a tennis ball, yeah. She said, I killed a tennis ball today. I said, well, how on earth you kill a tennis ball? They were practicing giving tennis ball shots. And, and somehow or another she had broken the tennis ball. And I'm going, okay, that's something you really should stress out over, right? But she made it through, and today she is and has been. She retired already. So we need to be believing in ourselves that we can. This is the first thing that we need to do in order for us to get a growth mindset is we need to believe that we can grow. We need to believe in ourselves. You need to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe that you are capable of anything. Right? Mm-hmm. You can be a nurse, you can be a doctor, you can be a pilot, you can be a whatever. Whatever you look at it and you say you want to be that, you can be that. Mm-hmm. Right? Right.
Be a paramedic.
You can be anything you want to be. So we need to have that type of mindset first. I can. And then here's some other things that we can do. Now, we need to confront some difficult situations rather than avoiding them. It's going to help me to grow. How does that help me grow? I'm going to confront a difficult situation rather than avoiding it. One of the biggest things that's in our lives is addicts are people. There's people in our lives, right? Mm-hmm. There's people we love in our lives. But we know that the people that we love in our lives are poison to us. They're going to kill us. Okay. It ain't like we just got back from break or anything like that. I didn't go to the bathroom and break. I was smoking. So, what we do when that person comes, we have to, instead of trying to avoid the situation or avoid the person, we need to confront it. How do you confront that?
Healthy ways.
Healthy ways. Ma'am, I cannot be around you anymore. Sir, we can't be together anymore. Things like you cannot be in my life. You have to confront that. You have to do that in order to have a growth mindset. Once I get that done, then I know these are things that I can do to protect what? To protect me, to protect my sobriety, to protect my recovery. Right? I can do that, and that's going to help me grow. Challenges are a normal part of life. You're going to have challenges, right? How many of us are going to go find a job when we get out of here? Okay. Is that going to be a challenge?
Yes, for sure. Stressful.
It's going to be a challenge, probably for all of it. Usually a challenge. I'm getting I'm a little bit older than you guys. I will tell you this, that I have had to go to so many different job interviews. Did I get every job?
No.
Now, why are you so quick to say that? No, you didn't. But you're right. No, I didn't get every job, But there are challenges, and every time when you try to go do that, the challenges are a part of everyday life. They're going to happen, right? If we didn't have any challenges in our life, would that be good? No. Because why?
Because you're growing.
Look, the only way you grow. See, if I hadn't come back to work and my boss had said, hey, you need to know how to learn that computer stuff all over again, then I would never have grown to the place where I could do that, right? And I'm still growing. I hadn't arrived there. I got this thing to work today. Yeah. And that's a big deal, y'all. I mean, my self-worth is, yeah. I mean, I'm feeling real good. I'm confident. My self-esteem is soared. All of that kind of stuff. It's wonderful. But that's how we grow, by not avoiding the challenges that happen in our life. We've got to go and deal with that challenge. We've got to meet that thing head on, right? Now, I was going to say, I'm not going to say it, but I was going to say how How many of us know that when we get out of here, if we go back to the same places where we do go, the people that we know who know what we need are going to be there?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and they're going to come to try to help you. That's a challenge. We're going to have to deal with it. We've got some pretty big challenges in our life. Now, here's the deal. If I'm going to face those challenges, I'm going to get myself into a growth mindset, and at that point, then I'm going to be able to grow past that person. And at some point, those people will know that person has gone past me, and they'll go somewhere else, find somebody else. All right. So that's part of life. It's not a sign of being weak. It's not a sign of personal weakness. Confronting challenges, even if it makes you nervous.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this, that if you face a challenge and it doesn't make you nervous, it's not really a challenge. I mean, the thing, look, when I got just back to the computer, because that's the thing that's right here, but yesterday when I was trying to get it done, I was nervous as a cat. I couldn't, and I did everything. I talked to it. I prayed over it. I was going to anoint it with oil. I was scared to mess it up. And I'm talking to it and all of that kind of stuff. And I did everything my boss said do, and it didn't do it. I'm going, that girl lied to me. She didn't, because I did it again, and it worked well. But my boss, Mr. Farmer, he walks in cool as a cucumber. So to me, it was a major challenge. And once I learned a little bit more about it, I grew a little bit. And Mr. Farmer didn't grow at all. He didn't have anything to grow over. He didn't have any challenge at all. So challenges, if they're real challenges, will probably make you nervous. You'll be a little bit concerned about having to do it. That's what makes it a challenge, right? If it doesn't bother you at all, how many folks drive well?
Oh no, I think I drive well, but
She
some people
better.
say I don't drive well. So
I did drive this.
So that's not a challenge.
Yeah.
It's not a challenge if you drive well for you to go out and get in your car and drive off. That's not a challenge. See, that's not a challenge for me. The challenge for me is to ride with my wife while she drives. That's a challenge. That's a little scary. So if it doesn't make you nervous, it may not be a challenge. Be willing to stand even when it makes you a little nervous. When it makes you a little nervous to go do something.
Like some of us that are leaving tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I know I'm going to say I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
Well, that's a challenge.
So.
Yeah. If you're done with your treatment and you're going back to the world, it can be a little nerve-wracking, right? Should be. When you're a little nervous about some things, what's that do? Keeps you on point. Keeps you at the edge. Keeps you at the point where you're watching out. You're looking out for the warning signs that shows you that's a trigger.
Especially changing everything. People, places, and things. That's
people, places, and things. Look, here's the deal. Even if it makes you a little nervous, it will likely show you they're more manageable than you think. They're more manageable than you think. When I got all of the information about how to do this, I went home last night and I'm looking over it all again, and I tried to do it. I couldn't do it. I said, this is unmanageable. This is crazy. So I handed it to my wife, and I said, 3 seconds. She had it up and working. I'm going, okay, it's not the process, it's the process. I need to go. I need to do something. I'm not, but at that point in time, I could have said, well, I'm not doing it. I'm too nervous about it. I'm not doing it. But instead of that, I went over and talked to my boss, Miss Sierra, and she's fabulous. And she said, do it. And I was able to write it down myself, and guess what? It worked out.
All right.
Right? But even though it's nerve-wracking, you still have to do that. If we don't do that, if we don't face the challenge, we don't grow. So here's the deal. You can face the challenge or you can run from it. And every one of you are going to have challenges when you leave out of here.
Yes,
we're going to have those challenges are part of life. And so we're going to have it. But we need to know that even if it makes us a little bit nervous, we have to face them. Approach difficulty. Now, this is important. And I need to get this in my life in a real way. In order to develop a growth mindset, I have to approach difficulties as temporary setbacks.
Say that again?
I have to approach difficulties. If there's something in my life that's a difficulty, something in my life that's a hard thing, something in my life that's causing me some stress and anxiety, I have to look at that as a temporary setback.
Okay.
See, a lot of the time when something happened, I didn't get the job. The guy said, well, and I've had people send me nice little letters. I go over and sit up there and I do all that stuff and I wear a tie, try to look good, all of that stuff, take a bath, try to smell well and get over there, and then they'll send me a letter, and I get the letter and it says, Dr. Garner, we certainly appreciate you coming by and talking to us, but we've decided to go in a different direction. I said, what direction trying to hire somebody? What direction you shutting the place down? What are you doing? Somebody peeking in there. But these things, we look at them, we think like they're permanent things.
You don't have to live like that no more.
Mr. Garner, because I feel bad.
Okay.
What's the matter?
I need someone to...
You need to... Well, get somebody. Whatever you need to do, go ahead.
Someone to...
Look at that. Look at that.
Like he came in this morning and I said something and I was like, I hope he don't hear me. I turned around and he was in my door. So
it's a wonderful thing. I tell people all the time, look, look, as a counselor, you shouldn't disrupt group. You should don't disrupt group. So when somebody has to come get somebody out, instead of easing them out, they come in, open the door, and say, I'm sorry about disrupting group. Disrupting group 3 times more, but that's okay. She's a lovely person. But these things are usually not permanent. Now, if you drop your motorcycle on the way to work and your leg gets torn off, that's probably permanent, right? That leg is gone. But usually, whatever's happening, you don't get the job, okay, you're not going to be unemployed for the rest of your life. Because there are other agencies that need you. And they're looking for you, right? Especially you. And you need to go there with that mindset. Those people need me.
Yeah.
Do you need them? Yes, you need them. But just as much as you need them, they need you. That's why people are willing to give you what?
Chance.
Money to come work for them, right? Yeah. They're going to give you a place. They're going to give you some a thing. They're going to help you be safe. They're going to do all of those things. They may not want you here, but they want you here, right? So it's not a permanent thing. Whatever it is, it's likely you believe your situation can't be overcome or won't get better. Not true. Not true. So we have all sorts of things. It's like CPS got my children. That's a freaky thing. That's a freaky thing. And when I was growing up, CPS was involved. CPS been around since the beginning of time, I suppose. I've got 2 sisters I've never met. Because CPS came and took them somewhere. Never met them. Before I was born, never met them. But here's the thing. Most of the time, that's not a permanent situation, right? Most of the time, that's temporary. And we need to look at those things as temporary. If we look at them as permanent things, we're not going to have this mind growth that we're looking for. We have to have a growth that we have to know that this too shall pass. It's not going to be there forever. It's not going to be better. It's rarely the reality. Try seeing your challenge as a situation that we're going to work through. Whatever the challenge is, we're going to work through it. We're going to get through that. rather than a forever problem. Even if it's happened 2 or 3 or 4 times, it's not a forever problem. Ask yourself, look, I teach this all the time, and it's really, really a good thing. It's kind of simplistic, but it's good. Will this matter to me in a month? Whatever's going on right now, will that matter to me in 6 months? Will it matter to me in 5 years? Yeah, not going to matter. It more than likely won't matter tomorrow.
One day at a time.
Yeah, we're just going to do one day at a time, and we're not worried about what's going to, it's just probably not going to happen. It's not permanent. 99% of whatever happens is not going to be a permanent thing, right?
Right. Yes.
All right. Here's the deal. Now, this is, and I know I say this a lot, but let me tell you, this is a real big deal. Learn something. Learn a new skill, right? Learn something. If there's something in your life that you want to do, you make, see, look at that. Somebody else disrupted, and it wasn't you. That's so, we're so proud of you. So learn a new skill rather than just giving up. I have had people in treatment. I have had people that I do an anger thing and some other stuff, and I have people tell me, they can't ever change. Yeah, I know. Look, I was born with an anger issue, and I can't ever change. Is that true?
No.
No. Being angry is a choice. So we can change. So we need to, look, if I can't get the job, what do I do? Go to another job or go learn the skill that they need. I'm going to tell you a silly thing about myself, and there's lots of silly things about myself, but when I decided I wanted to be a counselor, way back in the day, there was a company that was advertising for a counselor. They needed a counselor. So, okay. So I went over there to talk to them. I said, look, I want to get that job of a counselor. And the lady said, okay, are you licensed? I said, well, no. I didn't even know what that was. She said, no, you have to go to school. You have to get this. I said, well, I have all this education. She said, it doesn't matter. You're not licensed. You can't do anything.
Watch me.
Okay. So I walked out of there and I said, okay. And that same lady, probably 10 years later, came out to the prison to teach a class. And I walked into the room for the class, and I said, hi. She said, oh, hello. I said, remember me? She said, absolutely not. I don't know who you are. I said, I'm the guy that tried to get hired on without a license. I now have one. And I have another job, and I'm over here. So you do, if you want to do something, if you run up against a challenge and you can't learn something. Go somewhere, learn what you need to learn. Find out what it is that you need to have before you can do it. When I go out to the airport, and I say, look, I want to rent that airplane right there. What do you think the very first thing they ask me?
Do you have a pilot license?
Give me your license. Where's your license? Okay. How long are you going to keep it up?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it up for 3 hours. It's $452. About $150 an hour, according to what aircraft was like. So, if, instead of learn new skills rather than give it up, when times are tough, you kind of want to throw in the towel. You ever been to the place where you just want to say, okay, that's enough? And you want to go home?
And then
You've been there, done that a lot of times. I quit. I worked at the prison for 16 and a half years. I quit every day. I walk out of there, man, I'm never going back. Get up in the morning and go back. So sometimes I want to give up, but instead of just giving up, when times get tough, we'll throw in the towel to avoid doing that, because we don't really want to just give up, do we?
No.
Do what you're no. If this is the second, third, or fourth time you've been in treatment, what does that say about you? It doesn't say that you're hopeless. It says that you're committed. You're going to keep coming until you catch it. Right? I want to keep going until it's done. I'm going to keep going until I'm through. I'm going to keep going until I've got it. That's what he says. That's what he says to me about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, okay, they really are serious. They may not make it again, but we're not going to shut the place down. We'll be here when you come back.
Yeah.
Right? Now, preferably, I don't want you to come back, not in this capacity. I want you to get your license, come back, because we need the staff. So y'all come on back. So, to avoid this, try not to think of what you are looking. To avoid doing this, try to think of what you can learn from the situation. We do know you can learn from every situation, right?
Yes.
Anybody here ever been snake bitten?
No.
No.
People.
Dog bitten.
Oh, that's somebody saying.
I know somebody snake.
Yeah, you have a pet snake.
I used to. I know somebody there bit by a snake.
Yeah, I don't. I've never been bitten by a snake.
Feels like a wasp sting.
But if you ever get bitten by a snake, you learn. Don't
People
stick. There was a guy that was going. He was doing something. He was playing with a baby rattlesnake. I told you all about that, huh?
Yeah.
And he stuck the rattlesnake's head in his mouth. That's not look. Don't do that. If you ever have you have a baby rattlesnake and you feel like you want to stick his head in your mouth, don't do that. Don't do that. I used to have a kid in my scout troop. He'd catch the little kittens and he'd stick their whole head in his mouth, and then he'd just hold them there. And the cat's doing all of this kind of stuff. He wasn't bright, but and he always had cat breath. But some things y'all might do. If you're nervous confronting someone, think of it as a chance to work on assertive communication. Do we need to know how to use assertive communication?
Shouldn't stop talking. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like assertive communication is stop doing that. Don't do that. That's more aggressive communication. But assertive communication is good for everybody. People know what you mean when you say what you say assertively. You don't have to be aggressive, but being assertive is because I'm telling you something because I need that to happen in my life. Right? Okay. We about got it, and we're running out of time. So we're going quick. View your emotions as sources of insight rather than running from them.
Say that again.
View your emotions as sources of insight instead of running from them. What are your emotions insight into? You. The insight to me, is it okay to have emotion?
Yeah.
I sincerely hope so because everybody's got them. Everybody has emotions. There are people who try to hide their emotions. There are people who try to stick away from their emotions. There are people who are overly emotional, but we all have emotions. So we need to look at our emotions when those things happen as insight into who we are instead of pushing away uncomfortable emotion. What would be an uncomfortable emotion?
Crying.
Romancing.
Anger.
Romancing.
Anger can be an uncomfortable emotion because we get ourselves out of control and we'll do stuff we shouldn't do, and we'll say things we shouldn't say, and we'll do all kind of crazy mess when we're angry that we wouldn't normally do. Fear is another emotion that can get out of control. There's all sorts of stuff. When you hurt my feelings, that can get out of control. So hurt can be one. Embarrassment can be one. All sorts of things. So it's hard for me to stay into my recovery because, I have friends that's been my friends forever, and I'm too embarrassed to tell them that I can't hang out with them anymore. Oh. It's embarrassing. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, and end up hindering ourselves.
Yeah. The deal about it is, I ain't too worried about your feelings. I'm worried about my recovery. That hurt your feelings. That's too bad. You didn't love me that much, did you? Okay. My feelings are my feelings, and here's my feelings. If you really cared about me, you'd leave. You know, you wouldn't be hanging around my house.
Or
trying to. So, instead of pushing away, let yourself experience them fully. Be careful when you do that. When I'm experiencing my emotions fully, that doesn't mean I'm going to kill 19 people because I'm mad. You know, that means I'm going to feel the feeling. Once I feel the feeling, I'm going to let that feeling go. Right? Y'all understand what feeling the feeling means, right?
Yes, sir.
If I feel that, if somebody hurts me, I'm going to feel that feeling. And when I'm feeling that feeling, I'm going to figure out just how damaging that feeling is.
Yeah.
Is it something that I can't deal with? Is it something that I have to deal with? What is it? So let yourself experience it. Make a point to sit with an emotion and figure out how it feels. Explore the emotion. Why is that making me feel this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I want to respond in another way? Then ask yourself, what is the emotion trying to tell me? You get that? Answers can be really illuminating. If I say, what is this feeling? Why? What does that mean? Why does that hurt my feelings? Oh, why does that make me allow myself to get angry? What's going on with me? Because let me tell you something. When it's down to my feelings, when it's down to your emotions, it's all about who?
Self.
All about me.
Selfish.
It's all about me. My feelings are all about me. My feelings are valid. They're valid because they're real. But it's all about me. It's not about what that person did. Remember when we talk about the belief system?
Yes.
Y'all remember who Epictetus is?
What?
It's not a what, it's a who. Epictetus. You know, we talked about Epictetus the other day. Epictetus is the guy that first said, it is not what happens to a person that causes them to become angry. It's how they feel.
I have it written down somewhere.
About those feelings, about those things. So it's not the other person. It's not whatever she did. It's not whatever he did. It's how I feel about that. It's how I believe about that. When I'm saying to myself, they don't have the right to say that to me. They don't have the right to look at me that way. They don't. Okay, it's not about they. It's about me. All right. So, find the silver linings. If I'm going to have a growth mindset, I have to find the silver linings rather than dwelling on the negatives. How many people know, and I apologize for using that terminology, I keep doing it, but we do know, of course, that negative things are going to happen in your life. Most of you folks are kind of young, just cheering. There's some negative things going to happen in your life if you continue to live. It's just, it's natural, it's normal, it's life, it's going to happen. Negative stuff. Anybody ever been fired?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff, huh?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think so.
You never been fired? Oh, my goodness. But negative stuff happens. I had a boss come tell me one time I was working at a service station, and I was on the night crew, and unfortunately, what happens on the night crew?
Everybody's lazy.
Huh?
They sleeping on the
You go to sleep. I don't know what. Yeah, I went to sleep. Somebody came in, filled their car up, stole 4 tires and a whole case full of oil. My boss came in the next day, woke me up, and he said, you may now join the ranks of the great unemployed. Okay. Well, that's a negative that happened in my life. I was a very young man when that happened, but that was a negative. Life isn't perfect, not going to be perfect. Negative things are going to happen, but you can usually find a positive aspect in every difficult situation. I didn't really like that job. It was hard. It was at night. So I wasn't looking at it as a positive at that point in time. But after a little bit, I did begin to look at it as positive because I got a better job working in the daylight and doing some other things. Making more money and having a better time and all of that stuff. So, it turned into a positive. So a lot of times the things that we see as negative can turn into positive. So consider some good things or silver linings that you can make from every challenging situation and how that's going to help you grow. Can you grow from being fired from a job?
Yes.
Yeah, a whole lot of ways. First off, the first thing that comes to my mind is how you deal with it. Yeah, if you don't deal with it well and you're cussing and screaming and yelling and, that's not good. You're not growing a whole lot. But if you can look, was that guy right to fire me?
No.
Yes.
You don't think?
No.
Yes,
Whole tank of gas, 4 brand new tires going, and not a case of oil. All of the oil that was on the display. The guy took it. I mean, he took everything he could. That wasn't. The only thing he didn't do was get in the register. He didn't come inside the little booth where I was sitting, but he took everything that he could. I'm thinking he swept up some of the gravel from the driveway. He took everything. So, he was fully within his right. Right? And when I'm walking out of that, I was angry there for a few minutes. I was ticked off or all of that kind of stuff. I did not get paid because my whole paycheck didn't cover that. My whole paycheck didn't cover all the stuff that he had lost. So, I didn't get paid and all of that. And so I was not a happy camper and all of that stuff. But after a while, I was able to take a look at it. It took me a minute. I was like 16.
Oh, God, yeah.
I was just a kid. So I was riding a 175 Honda, and I drove off on my little Honda, and I'm thinking, and it took me a while. But, a couple of months later, after I'm doing something different, I could look back at that situation and say, had it been me, I'd have fired me too. I'd have fired me, man. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, if we're going to grow, if we're going to have a growth mindset, we have to get to the place where we look at things a little bit differently. That might not be the worst thing in the world that could happen. That might be a good thing. Even if it's something at that point, it might seem horrendous. It might not be as terrible as we think. Right? Yeah. And we need to be willing to look at the positives in any situation. Right? Okay. So, questions, comments, or snide remarks?
Sir, thank you.
You did a great job.
I'm sorry.
We loved your class.
So far.
It's amazing.
We always do.
I'm sorry Monica kept talking
Thank
too
you
much.
for not putting her out.
Yeah, I know. But like I said, it's going to be in her note. So, in an attempt to save herself, she's showing us that she took notes, and then she said, "I'm so sorry." And, So, all right. Now look, tomorrow we're going to continue doing some of this work here because we didn't get very far in this, but we're going to work on some more of this assignment here. This is on page 42, and what I recommend is you take that assignment, go over that assignment, see what you can get done on that assignment. Some of you have already done that assignment. That's a good thing. But we're going to go back through that assignment and work some more on that. So let me give you a very positive affirmation.
Yay!
Everybody in here did a really good job, with the exception of one individual. But you all did well, and I appreciate you guys, and I will see you probably tomorrow on the thing. So thank you, and that's the group. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Mr. Ryder, do you want me to get copies made of this?
Oh, now you want me to teach
I do want to make some. Do you want to